Welcome back to another beautiful, fantastical day in the Matrix. My name's your host, Kris, and today we have a special live stream. As most of you guys know, I do general TA live streams that talk about new projects, but something's big is happening with one of my favorite projects, and I got to bring on the developer, Jake Sharp. So today we're having an awesome live stream talking about TitanX. And before I bring up Jake up to the stage, the one thing I want to say before we start this live stream, please share this live stream out on X, hit the like button, continue to push this out here so that we can use this to bring up more people into the community, educate others, and lift people up, because that's what we're all about. Now, I want to welcome to the stage one of my really good friends and also a developer that's been absolutely crushing it and continues to innovate in the space. Jake Sharp, what's up, brother? How are we doing today?
Yeah, good. That was a sick intro.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, I saw the Cheesecake Factory. I'm like, I'm sold. Love Cheesecake Factory.
Dude, I'm not gonna lie, dude. Cheesecake Factory, like once you get through the meal and then you get to the point where they have all the selections of cheesecakes, that's where it gets you. And then they also got those like martinis with the desserts and the chocolate. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. I mean, the issue with Cheesecake Factory is the main meal is so massive, and you have a massive dessert, and then you're basically just dead for the rest of the evening. That's been my experience, but it's been good.
That's good stuff, man. That's good stuff. So, hey, man, it's been a minute since we live streamed. You've been doing some work behind the shadows, man. I'm just curious, how you doing, and what have you been up to, dude?
Good. I mean, just been working on primarily it's been marketing now. Most of the stuff that we've been talking about in previous live streams about the things that we want to build, they're all practically done. We're building another thing in collaboration with Eric from TitanX on top of TitanX. So that's being developed now. It's just waiting for the right timing. And I remember in previous days, so day 280 was a massive day for TitanX. It was the biggest inflation day. And I remember saying on stream, usually when the market expects one thing, the exact opposite happens. Everybody was so convinced it was going to dump on day 280. And I was like, usually when the market thinks this, the exact opposite happens. And I was like 50-50 convicted on it. And then day 280 is just when a fucking monster pump came out of nowhere. And that was pretty sick. And now everybody's hyped again, and things are starting to build, and old builders are starting to come back. I feel like we're all going back into full swing.
Yeah, man, it's crazy. And I had the same exact perception of you on day 280, because I went on live stream when the hyper stuff started coming out. We'll go a little bit more later on the live stream. And I was just looking, I was like, hey, we got day 280. This is my prediction of the chart. Might go down, then come back up. This is what I think. I could be wrong. And I was absolutely wrong. Like, I mean my words right now, because like I thought it was gonna go like this. It started going up like that. And I was like, oh man. So
especially the TitanX.
Oh, dude, TitanX.
Yeah, that was it.
I think there's a lot of speculation with Dave 369. But before we get into the TitanX stuff, I need to get your thoughts and opinion on Bitcoin, Ethereum right now. There's a lot of stress going on, prices going up, and Ethereum has a lot to do with what we're trying to achieve with TitanX. And I'm just curious to know, what do you think about this bull market so far and the price performance of these two highest performing assets?
So Bitcoin seems to be doing really well this cycle. Usually Bitcoin in cycles goes up to 60% dominance in the first part of the cycle. Bitcoin kind of dominates, and then later on you get into the altcoin cycles. Now the interesting thing that happened with Ethereum was the Japanese yen carry trade. Now the reason Ethereum got so caught up in that is because Ethereum is the DeFi asset. It's used for all the collateral and all the exchanges. Nobody really uses Bitcoin as collateral for these like carry trades, etc. So Ethereum got a big hit, and then you also had the Ethereum ETF launch and the unwinding of the grayscale Ethereum. So they've been dumping on market massively, combined with the Japanese yen. You kind of just get this massive crash in Ethereum, which TitanX didn't seem to care about, which is kind of interesting. It was like Ethereum dumping, the entire market dumping Titan. So that was interesting. But Ethereum is kind of going through a season. Once grayscale is out, you'll see the ETF volumes kicking up, net volumes, and that's kind of when Ethereum starts. Ethereum has kind of been a pooper this cycle compared to Bitcoin. But usually, if you look at previous cycles, altcoins and stuff that is not Bitcoin starts really going off second part of the cycle, which is kind of what we're heading into. August, September plus is historically where the rest of the cycle really starts kicking off. So Bitcoin dominance should be topping soon, like around 60%. And then the rest of the market can start following.
Absolutely, man. Great analysis. And the one thing I got to say about Ethereum, I don't have concrete proof, dude, but the market manipulation is crazy, man. And the reason why I'm saying this, and you know, when it ties back to numerology and astrology, because usually when you get into it, it's just kind of ups and downs. You're like, one day I believe it, the next day I don't. But then when you start to see us get close to highs on like possible price discovery, and then you get to a lows of like a trading pattern, and then you get a news event, your belief in numerology and astrology starts going up exponentially like that, kind of like X28. You know what I'm saying? So like I just want to show you guys what I'm talking about, so you know I'm not crazy, and we'll keep it moving because we need to get to TitanX. But just looking at this chart alone and seeing how it's trading sideways and it's just a massive bull flag, you can already tell there's something going on here. And it's not natural, in my opinion. I could be wrong. You got any thoughts on that?
I mean,
feel free not to say anything if you don't want to.
Astrology and gematria is a massive part of this market. One of the things that I've, because I like listening to this dude, Waters Above. I haven't listened to him for a while since I was focused on building, but Waters Above has been super dead on with these gematria predictions. And like, for example, the FTX collapse, which was the bottom of the bear market, that happened on a lunar eclipse. The day of the lunar eclipse. I think it was on either 9th or 11th November. I don't remember the exact date, but it wouldn't surprise me if it was on an 11 day, because 11 days are massively emotional spikes. So if you do a news event or you have some kind of crash in the market on the 11th day, it's usually more extreme. So gematria on 11 goes hand in hand. Can you see if the bottom was the bottom of this cycle for Bitcoin? I think it was around 9th or 11th November.
Let's look at that.
It wouldn't surprise me if it was on the 11th, because like these big market makers. There's this great quote, I think it's from JP Morgan. Like, millionaires don't believe in astrology, but billionaires do. I want you really start looking at the market through the lens of astrology and gematria, which is why TitanX is massive on gematria. Like, I saw you even like trying to decipher the logo colors. I didn't even think about that. Like, I also add up to 8, 28, 28 October. There's a lot of, I have a whole post on like the numerology of the launch date, etc., but it was massive.
Yeah, this so the phase into the drop it started on the 20th, and the 20th is the hidden 11. So I think you're spot on with what you're saying, because keep in mind.
But then you also have the FTX crash before. Was that on the 11th?
Oh, I'm sorry. No,
the
no,
9th. The 9th.
Yeah. So the bottom was on the 20th, and if I recall, this was actually during the blood moon as well. So it was actually a more special event. That's what Waters Above said. So, and we got another blood moon in March of 2025. Hint, hint. So just throw that out there. So
yeah, but these things are crazy accurate. Oh my god.
Yeah, man. It's just crazy, man. But I know we're on a side tangent, but we gotta keep it moving. So yeah, man. So let's just talk about TitanX, man. What's your overall thoughts on TitanX so far?
So far, everything's been playing out exactly the way we kind of thought. So in the beginning, TitanX was designed to be hyper inflationary, with the sole purpose of building a community. Because the thing that makes something like TitanX and build on TitanX unique is you need to get the community big enough for builders to even care. And for builders to care, they also need to have a substantial position in the ecosystem. The only way to do that is to give everybody equal opportunity at the start to start miners. And if you're willing to put Ethereum and time in, you get the biggest position because you're early, and everybody kind of gets roughly the same position. Everybody has roughly the same cost basis. That's how you build a community that wants to build. Because if I've seen a lot of projects tout this idea of fair launch. But if you launch a token, 100% of the tokens are in the liquidity pool, like 20% is owned by the team, 80% is in the liquidity pool. Somebody that buys 10 minutes before you and you buy 20x higher than him, that doesn't make him, the guy that was 10 minutes earlier, more valuable than you. So it's not a fair launch. A fair launch, in my opinion, give everybody the opportunity to get a similar cost basis if they're willing to put the effort in, which in our case was time and Ethereum. And that's how you get a community that really cares, because everybody has the same cost basis. Nobody feels singled out. And that's how you get a community that really builds, because this was a really fair launch. And 97% of the money was given back to the community. So 100% basically. And I think that's been truly unique about TitanX. So the beginning was always network adoption, get TitanX in as many hands as possible, give everybody a fair opportunity to build a position, and then give it to the community and let it build it. Like all of the builder functions that are on TitanX, initially they were built for me because I wanted to build stuff on top of it. I kind of expected some builders to start building, but to my surprise, like the build on TitanX projects are exploding. There's like 2 or 3 that are not even on TitanX Hub that I've been hearing of. So the plan has been working out perfectly. And then the next phase is hyperdeflationary. So day 280 was the biggest inflation day. Now we have a little bit more inflation coming in September, but it's absolutely nothing compared to what we had in August and like day 280. So I wouldn't be too worried about that. But then after that, we're fully hyper deflationary and a bunch of flywheels, and that's when the real price starts kicking off.
That's gonna be a crazy time. I'm excited, man. You got me all like excited. I know it's 11 day, but man, this is awesome. So before I get more into TitanX, the one thing I want to ask you about is how it's a leverage play on Ethereum. This is for new people because a lot of new people just recently jumped into TitanX, and I think it'd be a key point if you just describe how it's a leverage play off of Ethereum.
Yep. So the way TitanX gets created is people start miners with Ethereum, and then the longer they're willing to wait, the more coins they get. So their cost basis essentially goes down, the amount they pay per token. That Ethereum goes into a buy and burn and goes into staking payouts. Now the system has adapted in a pretty crazy way. So the staking payout pools, so 28% of all the Ethereum that gets used to start miners goes to pay stakers. But stuff like DragonX, Helios I think has 3.06% of the staking pool. DragonX has 36%, almost 369, like 36.9. That would be cool. But now the staking pools is also owned by protocols, and there's been other protocols that have launched, like Blaze, which is an auction protocol that gives Ethereum to its stakers. So since the majority of the staking pool is now dominated by protocols, users kind of feel left out. So because these are extremely adaptable systems, the community came together and they built something called Blaze, and now that's the staking thing within the ecosystem. So basically all the Ethereum gets given back to users to build a strong community and bolster the protocol and give it a real backing. The main liquidity pair is Ethereum, so whatever Ethereum does, TitanX does. Now, there are other exceptions where it completely decorrelates. Like on day 280, Ethereum dropped roughly 30%, and TitanX went up roughly 50%. So that's like a massive difference. So it doesn't have to be correlated, but it is a leverage play on top of Ethereum, and then all the projects built on top of TitanX are a leverage play on TitanX. Yeah, like for example, DragonX. DragonX did a 15x in less than 5 days from the bottom. Like if you look at the USD price.
Yeah, I'll bring it up.
And it went from 1.5 TitanX to 4 TitanX. So that's roughly a 2.5x-ish. Roughly 2.5x. And the rest of the price performance was because TitanX did roughly a 3x. So 3 times 2.5, you kind of end up coming to the 7.5, 8 number. Now it's up to 6 TitanX per DragonX. So whatever TitanX does in terms of price performance, if your main liquidity pair is TitanX and you perform against TitanX, which is not hard, like literally if your liquidity pair is TitanX, like DragonX is TitanX DragonX, for example, even if DragonX got no buyers and no sellers and just did nothing, because TitanX did a 2.5x, DragonX by default did a 2.5x. Because it's its main liquidity pair, it's priced in TitanX. And that's how you see these absolutely insane moves with very low volume on the build on TitanX projects.
Yeah, man, it's pretty impressive. And I think one of the key takeaways and just like a total rundown, what he says is with the TitanX miners, they're designed to also do very small amounts. So if you got like $100 or $200 of Ethereum, you can put that into a TitanX miner. And the goal is to not only build on top of Ethereum, but also appreciate much quicker in comparison to Ethereum in this bull market. And that's the main idea. So it basically takes Ethereum, expands the ecosystem, and creates a way where it incentivizes users to build on top of it. And that's where I see the value in TitanX. I get everybody likes the number go up technology, but the value of TitanX is going to be directly correlated to the development built on top of it. And as we continue to get more development and more people coming in and building new projects, then we'll start to see that exponential growth. And that's what really attracted me to TitanX. Any thoughts on that before we move on?
Nope, 100%. And cool. the crazy part is there's a bunch of ones nobody has ever heard of that have like $200 million in seed funding, etc., etc. And they maybe have 2 or 3 builders. Our ecosystem is roughly $30 million now, and we have more builders than these ghost town L1s that have hundreds of millions of dollars of funding. And this just kind of goes to show that crypto, if you give the community a fair opportunity, and you're honest and transparent, and you give them an opportunity to build and make money by building, this is the power of decentralized networks. Because all of these teams, I've never really talked to them. Like we talk a little bit, but I'm not there building with them. I'm not there masterminding or brainstorming with them. this is just the power of decentralized communities that get equal opportunity and want to build on something where they know some VC or shadow figure is not going to dump on their people, because it's all owned by the community. Every single TitanX that ever came into existence was mined by a community member, not a VC, not a shadow figure. There was no illegal ICO. Everything's completely created by the community. So yeah, it's going perfect, man.
I love it, man.
Wish for it to go a better way.
I love it, man. Good stuff. And the other thing I want to add on to what you were saying. So I do a lot of research with meme coins. I go into other ecosystems and I do a lot of networking in this space. And that's what me and Trey like to do. And if you guys have been paying attention to this market, this is a meme coin market. And then with a side of utility with what you see with Ondo. So people are interested in dog coins and frog coins and stuff that I just don't understand. But the point is, this is the type of market we're in, and that's what people are looking for. Now, if you guys go over to Solana, you got Pump.Fun. Pump.Fun just hired a one of the former heads of SEC. I'm not going to get into the conspiracy theory behind it, but you can see the direction of what's happening with these meme coins. On top of that, we had new project launches like Nero, Moo the Bull on Solana. And if you guys go and track these wallets, these are VC funded meme coins. So you can tell where the money is going into. Now, where does TitanX play into this? And I'm curious to know your thoughts on the meme coin run and then meme coins on TitanX, which I haven't seen a lot of people talk about yet. And basically, when a meme coin launches, there's initial hype phase, people sell and then disappears, and basically liquidity just gets exhausted. Now with TitanX, where you're incentivized to burn TitanX and build on top of it, I think there could be potentially a meme coin run on top of TitanX. Jake, what's your thoughts on the meme coin run? And do you think it'll be possibly built on top of TitanX? Hopefully that made sense.
Yep. So I think it's sort of a massive psyop happening with meme coins. People truly believe that these meme coins are completely community run, which I don't believe at all. Like if you see the meme coins that are completely community run, one, they don't pump hard, and two, they disappear after 3 days. Usually the meme coins that run have massive amount of insiders and trading bots, etc., put on them and exchange listings before they even go live. So it's usually insider cabal trading with meme coins. And how many of these meme coins have you seen do a 30x, liquidity gets rubbed and it just goes to zero? So meme coins are a way of extracting value from the market, especially the pump fund meme coins. I think, like your friend Sami says it perfectly. Meme coins are a reaction from the market. They're tired of these VC funded things where they launch at $1 billion market cap. They don't need the price to go up. They don't need the price to go down. They can just sell into whatever volume they get. They don't care about price performance. They don't care about the community. They just want to get in the return with their VC fund. And it's not owned by the community anymore. So I think TitanX feels this unique. So I don't think people don't believe in utility anymore. I think people don't believe in the VC and shadow figures rugging everybody and starting at these massive valuations so that the community and the early people, you just can't be early to these protocols. And the only way to make money in crypto is if you're early and if you're low in a relatively low market cap. So I think TitanX took this idea of, okay, the market is going towards meme coins because they believe it's completely community ran and they have a shot of being early. TitanX takes that and we're like, okay, what if you build utility on top of that? And you still give it to the community? Because like, there's this crazy statistic back in like 2017, the average community allocation for a project was like 50% team, 50% community. Then in the next cycle, like roughly around 2021, it was 80% team, 20% community. Now we're at the point where it's 90%, 95% team, VC, insider allocation, seed rounds, etc., 5% community. So retailers literally just exit liquidity for these utility projects that start with massive valuations. So we saw a hole in the market to launch something that is fully community owned and community created. Every single coin that exists is created by the community. There's no VCs or insiders or shadow figures happening in the background. So we have that strength of it being completely community owned, and it's also community built, which is fucking insane. So since it's community owned and community built, TitanX is by definition the purest form of crypto, and we have utility with all the projects built on top of it. So that's kind of interesting. I think meme coins in general are a massive psyop, and in general they just extract liquidity from the market. Because even if when you look at on chain and you see these meme coins run, usually what happens with the money is they go to Coinbase or they go to Binance or OKX, etc., and then the money never enters the market again. It goes to bank accounts and then they do whatever the hell they do with it, buy cars, go to strip clubs, whatever the hell these fucking devils do, basically. So I just think it's massive value extraction. And meme coins only work if there's a strong community behind them and it's completely community owned. And then maybe have a 1 out of 100 shot of making it. I feel like I just
Right.
went on a rant.
No, no,
Not
no,
sure if
no,
that
no,
was
no.
helpful.
No,
Yeah.
no, 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 man. I loved it, man. I was plugged in. I was at the same frequency as you, and I do agree with you that we started off with the L1 pump in the last market, and everyone's like, okay, if I buy an L1, some utility token, it's going to go up and do the same functionality, and I got to make sure it's new. And then you get the high valuations. You saw with ZK Sync, you saw with a lot of these other projects, and they're just dumping on investors. So the meme coin thing started off as a FU, and then now it's a psyop, and then now we're starting to see some weird craziness. So here's where I see TitanX playing it, fitting in the picture. And I'm gonna really dumb this down and not get it all technical. But basically, you have the main liquidity pool, TitanX to Ethereum, and it's V3, and the fees are burnt. So basically, when you do a swap from Ethereum to TitanX, TitanX is burnt. If you set up an LP with TitanX and whatever said meme coin, there's going to be arbitrage bots where they look at prices of TitanX between all the pools, and they're going to trade in between every single one of them. So if you set up some crazy meme coin with like a dog or I don't know whatever, and it's in the TitanX ecosystem, number one, it's going to burn TitanX, and then number two, it's going to be a leverage play on top of TitanX. So in my opinion, with this launchpad layer and this and the ecosystem, it's going to create an ever expanding price floor. And the more launches we have on top of TitanX, the more volume it does, and the more volume does, the more TitanX becomes deflationary, and then number go up technology. So overall, man, it's definitely really exciting. Anything else you want to add before we move on?
Yeah, there's a bunch of benefits to doing the bond liquidity with TitanX. Another one is the TitanX that gets used to create a liquidity pool. Like, for example, there's a meme coin on TitanX. The first meme coin launch was with JKEX. Because I made this tweet on Twitter, and it was like my face, and the guy took my face, put like a cigarette in it because I like nicotine. I don't smoke cigarettes, but I like nicotine, so it was kind of funny. And
Love this project.
that has roughly like 22 billion. It's not much in the liquidity pool, but that 22 billion is not locked in that liquidity pool because it's full range, so it can never fully exit. So you get the benefit of people have to route through TitanX first, so it pushes up the TitanX price, which pushes up everything in the ecosystem, to then go and buy the meme coin, which locks the liquidity in the liquidity pool. So there's a bunch of tertiary benefits that you also get with the bond liquidity. And another benefit that you get with the bond liquidity is if we launch a protocol like X28, for example, and not financial advice, but the price improves, then automatically by default, everything gets dragged up with it because it's priced in TitanX. And so it's kind of, I like saying this saying of one for all for one, and the rising tide lifts all boats. That only works if your only liquidity pair is the ocean. Because if you're like, your boat is here and then your boat is like on this other ocean, let's say it's like Atlantic Ocean and then Mediterranean Ocean, whatever kind of ocean that is. If this ocean moves, this ocean doesn't move. So it has to be bond liquidity, and then the rising tide lifts all boats. Like when we had the TitanX pump, the DragonX got the most because it had a bunch of hype behind it. But by default, everything did a 2.5x, even if nobody was buying or selling it because it's priced in TitanX. So if TitanX goes up 2.5x in value, everything else by default goes 2.5x up in value. It's pretty sick. And I've seen other ecosystems attempt this, but they just kind of suck. There's no marketing, there's no community, there's no streamers, there's nothing really going on. There's no zest or personality. There's like nothing special about it. And then they do it the old-fashioned way, which is like through taxing the coin, which is fine. I just think TitanX has executed on it perfectly, and all the protocols built on top of TitanX have extremely sticky game theory, so the community just cares way more about this ecosystem.
Right. Yeah. Great. Hey, great analysis. Now, I want to get back into TitanX and talk about that extremely high inflationary period. So when TitanX first launched, we saw a huge hype high miners. Everybody was doing the short-term miners. Everybody was blowing up. X was crazy. It was TitanX. And then we started to see the supply come out. And then we started to see the community get quieter, and it got really silent. And then all of a sudden, now it's coming back, and we're starting to see people get loud again. What was your thoughts about that in between downtime?
Pretty relatively expected because it also went quiet during that time because that was the perfect time to just get kind of weak hands out. I was watching a live stream, I think it was from Crypto Banter, and he described corrections as going from the wrong hands to the correct hands. And that was such a small little sentence, but it stuck with me. And so in the beginning, we just had to get people out. And then after day 280, because everybody that wanted to get out, they're 100% out before day 280. Because they're like, oh, big supply spike, etc., etc. And now we just have the Diamond Hand community, the builders. I would say the real TitanX price started at day 280, because almost close to 80% of the supply is in existence now. And that extra 20% of supply really doesn't matter, because there's a bunch of like top 100 protocols that have only 50% of their supply circulating, and the other 50% is going to be unlocked VC tokens, insider tokens. And even when the price unlocks, maybe they go down for like a day and then they recover back to the low price. So I think from now on, we have the real TitanX price, like the real fair value of TitanX. So in my opinion, it only started from day 280. That was the official start of TitanX. And everything before that was just getting it in the right hands, onboarding community, building network effect, and then having the builders build the infrastructure. And now after day 280 is kind of what it officially started.
Love it, man. Love it. And I remember that downtime, man. I was sitting there thinking for a second, I was like, I don't know, is this project over? And then I snapped out of it and I said, I don't think it's over. I think this is the supply distribution phase. I'm really curious. Did you ever have a thought in your head that, hey, did the community abandon TitanX at any point during this downtime?
The community, yeah, of course I did. But me, nah. Because the other thing, because I've been in crypto since like 2017, it's very quick for the community to come back. All you need is like 1 or 2 weekly green candles and the community is back. So it's very easy to get people excited again. So I was never really worried about that, because whoever knew about TitanX at the start still knows about it. So we have those 280 days to just build massive branding. I have some brain space of people all over the crypto sphere that are like, hey, I've heard about this thing. And then all of a sudden when it shoots off, that's when everybody comes back. So I was never really worried about the community leaving. Them not caring, yeah. But that was kind of expected. But then to get people back, all it takes is 2 weekly green candles and everybody's back. So I was never really worried about that.
That's so true,
it goes
man.
from the biggest piece of shit ever to this thing is the best thing since sliced bread in like a week. Even though it's the same thing. Yeah, that's kind of how crypto works.
If you think about it, after Solana had the FTX shakeup, everybody thought it was dead, and then next you know, it blew up, and then Pump Fund came on, and we had the craziest Memecoin run that started off awesome and then turned absolutely terrible. But you do have a great point. You know, green candles bring people back. Now, I want to get into Hyper. I think Hyper was the most slept on project ever, and I still don't think many people really understand what just happened. And I remember going on live stream and just check out the price, and we saw the Vortex release on day 98. When that happened, I was looking at the price and I saw the Hyper miners profitability slowly come into profit right around 2%. And I went on live stream and say, hey, Hyper miners are in 2% profit. Something might pop off, you know, be aware. And it basically went one ear out the other. And then next thing you know, they're in massive profit right now. So what's your reactions on Hyper as of today?
Yeah. So with Hyper, we wanted to do a faster version of TitanX. So Hyper doesn't deflate as much. It's kind of like the compounding system within the ecosystem. So for the people that don't know, Hyper, the way it works is you use Ethereum to start miners similar to TitanX. But Hyper does a double buy effect. So it takes the Ethereum, it buys TitanX, and then buys Hyper via the TitanX Hyper pair. So you get the TitanX price moving up and you get the Hyper price moving up. So you get the double buy effect. So you get twice the price performance by routing it through the two pairs instead of just Ethereum Hyper. So and all of the miners that get started on Hyper buy TitanX first, and 20% of the TitanX that is bought gets burned. So it's the compounding thing within the TitanX ecosystem. Now we're building something on DragonX that will operate very similar to this. We're making a lot of tweaks to it, but that will require liquid TitanX instead of Ethereum. So people will need TitanX to participate in that. And that could be a more extreme version of how Hyper operated, because now you have the lever asset of DragonX in the middle. Because what kind of happened with the Hyper launch is Hyper launched and then the TitanX price went down 50%. And since Hyper price is priced in TitanX, the miner ROI also went down 50%. So if it's 20x miner ROI, it dropped down to 10x because the TitanX price dropped. So that's kind of the effect you have on the lever asset. It can go both ways. It can go up or down, and that massively impacts the miner ROI. So with the thing that we're building on DragonX will be in the middle. and it will burn DragonX. So DragonX is already a hyperdeflationary project. I think 20% of the supply is burned. So now we're doing this hyperdeflationary asset in the middle, leveraging to keep the miner otherwise high. So this system is fucking sick. Like, I think with TitanX, the way of doing the mining where all the value goes back to the community is really unique and first of its kind. I think people really like it, and especially if you have these like flywheels across the ecosystem that push all the prices up together. The more of these flywheels you create, and you give people different avenues. Like, some people care about like Ethereum staking, and then they go to Blaze. Some people care about compounding, and then they go to Hyper. Some people care about storing value, and then they go to TitanX or DragonX. Like, we have so many entry points into the ecosystem, and whatever entry point people pick, it strengthens the.
Oh, we just lost Jake, so I think he'll be back on in a minute. But yeah, man, good stuff. He was getting into the hyper miners. Definitely really great analysis. So we'll give him a minute. I'm gonna go through some comments and see what's up before wait for Jake to get back on. So we'll see what's crack-a-lacking. Wow, you guys got a lot of comments coming in right now. All right, we'll start from the beginning. Woo. Shout out to Z-Bar. Z-Bar, good to see you, man. All good stuff. The Mo, good to see you. Always good to see the Mo. Shout out to the Mo. Jamie X, good to see you, my brother. Always good to have you in the live stream. We got Damien. Damien, what's up? How's everything going, dude? Good to see you. What's up, Bad Sports? Good to see you. Win stream. We'll talk about that later. What else? Facing Reality. Shout out to Facing Reality. Really great dude. Guys, check him out. Gets into a lot of good stuff. Big pulse chain guy. Good stuff. Strayo X, my homie. Good to see you, my man. Always good to have you in here. Let's see. Got a lot going on here. Mellow Cryptic, good to see you, man. Always good to see you in here. Good stuff. Yep. I'll definitely do something with the stream later. We'll definitely post it back in here, do a summary, talk about a little bit on X. Good stuff. And there he is. He should be back. Let's see if we can get him connected. Hey, man, can you hear me?
Okay. Yeah, I wasn't sure if it was my internet that dropped. I think so.
Yeah, it was your. It's all good, man. I just went through comments. We're good. But hey, man, just picking up from where you left off. You're talking about the DragonX implementation, how it's going to be in between Hyper, the flywheels coming in, and you're creating this crazy, awesome ecosystem.
Yeah, so I think what I left off was the entry points. So everybody in crypto is interested in different things. Some people care about Memecoins, some people care about staking, some people care about compounding and flywheels, and some people care about farming. Like, we have Titan Farms coming out as well from the DragonX team. And that will be liquidity farming within the ecosystem. So there's going to be so many different entry points within the ecosystem. And the reason it strengthens it is because all of these entry points strengthen the main asset, which is TitanX, which automatically drags everything up with it. So it's kind of like you take all of this energy, all of this economic energy, and all of this attention, and you force it to go through a very narrow door, which is a TitanX for Ethereum liquidity pool, which then jumpstarts all the flywheels within the ecosystem. It's working out fucking perfectly, dude. Like, I couldn't wish for it to be better. And I'm not sure why it is. The community is just fucking so good, and I think it might be because the streams have built reputation, etc., for such a long time that people actually can go ahead and build and trust. It's working out so beautifully. Seriously, kind of grateful for it, you know.
I love it, man.
Yeah.
No, you guys got some good stuff, and I want to give you my hyper analysis to build on top of that. But the one thing I want to comment back at is that if you're building a protocol in between DragonX and Hyper, we've got two key events on those days. So September 19th is when the vortex kicks in. You got that Ethereum sent to the buy TitanX contract. September 15th is when we get that second massive mint phase of TitanX hit the market. On top of that, DragonX day 369 is going to be in play, where it's estimated to be roughly right around $2 million of Ethereum. That could go up a little bit based off of price appreciation. But right now, at the time of this recording, 2 million. So if you're building a project in between that and you got two major catalysts, I can't be nothing but bullish, dude. That is crazy. And based off of that, and this is me speculating, there is some exponential growth caused behind all of this. Now, the one thing I want to say is we got a nice super chat. Shout out to Bad Sports. Thank you so much. Massive love to all streamers and builders. Blaze, Inferno, another great meme coin. Helios, shout out to the dude. DragonX, shout out to Eric, really great developer. Baby DragonX, shout out to was it TL Leaks? And then hold on, I'll make sure I got his name right because I'm terrible.
I think it's James.
James, yes, there you go. Sorry, I want to make sure I have the right guy. And then Hyper, shout out to you. And TitanX, shout out to Jake Sharp, good stuff. And then next thing, don't sleep on Jake X, pair TitanX, Memecoin that supports the TitanX ecosystem. 00 text TitanX community member run Telegram. Shout out to Jake X, man. I love that picture of you, dude, with the cigarette and the baby face. Like when I saw that, dude, I started laughing so hard.
I mean, I showed it to my girlfriend, even she was laughing. So what Jake was kind of interesting. I saw it launch in the beginning, but I wasn't 100% sure because liquidity wasn't locked. But then he locked the liquidity, I think, for like 88 years, and I was like, okay, we can actually trust it now. Wait, am I good?
Yeah,
I think
you're good.
I
can hear you.
Wait, is it my internet lagging or is it your internet?
I think it might be your internet, but I can still hear you. You're good to go. Can you hear me?
Yeah, but you're a little bit robotic.
A little bit robotic. Okay, I can hear you clearly. So maybe let me check.
Wait, maybe in the comments, am I lagging or is the first lagging?
Yeah. Let's see. Let's go down here and take a look. Man, we got it's Z-Bar. Z-Bar, big guy of Baby Dragon X. So no one lagging. Okay, so no one's lagging. We're good to go, man. So
okay, so then it's on my end. You're a little bit robotic, but I can.
All right. Well, let me know. Let me know if I'm not speaking clearly. I can always repeat stuff, so it's not a big deal, man. So all right, last super chat, and then I'm gonna get into my hyper analysis. Shout out to Mike Dean, founder of TitanX Hub. Really great dude. Please check out his Twitter, all that good stuff. Mike Dean, really great guy. Now, I want to talk to you guys about my analysis of what's going on with hyper. So just taking a quick brief look down, we started to see the hyper buy and burn when the vortex was activated. And basically, when that started to come into play, we started to see some interesting price appreciation of hyper. Actually, no, let me back up. So just starting off with the launch of hyper, we had a bunch of miners launched between, let me get rid of this. I believe that was March 8th all the way to about right around March 21st. And then we had this massive down period. And this was from Mike Dean's, was it the TitanX Hub? It's a premium count. So with the inflation coming out, that all came out on day 88. So a bunch of it was minted out. On day 98, we had the hyper burn. Well, I mean, the hyper burn vortex come into play. And there was right around, I believe it was $500,000 worth of TitanX being used to burn hyper. So what that did was we had a small amount of supply coming out and we didn't have much hyperinflation coming in. So hyper was just getting burnt. Now, this created this flywheel effect that Jake was talking about. And if we just come over here to the hyper miner, right now, the estimated miner ROI is sitting at about 84%. And so that means that a bunch of TitanX is being used to burn miner and start to bring these miners into profitability. So while that was happening, on top of that, we started to see more. Can you hear me? You good to go?
Yeah, but it's robotic on my end. Wait, I'll try rejoining with a different proxy. 1 second.
Okay, gotcha. Sounds good. So basically, once these miners start to come into profitability, people are like, okay, hyper miners are profitable. So what's the next best thing? I'm gonna go and create a miner to make more hyper because you can get a sustainable ROI. So what this actually did was, if you come over to the buy and burn and you create a hyper miner, a certain portion of that creation of that hyper miner comes in to buy TitanX. And basically what that created was a massive amount, well, about 88 Ethereum that's being used to just buy TitanX off the market. So what that initiated is basically the increase in the price floor of TitanX, and that's why TitanX was going up so slowly, was because hyper was the entry. On top of that, we also have TitanX projects like Blaze, Helios, DragonX, Inferno, JakeX, Baby DragonX. Those started to come into play and started to increase volume on the network. So overall, man, it was a positive flywheel. it created an awesome effect, network effect. And in my opinion, this is the main reason why we're starting to see the price appreciation of TitanX. Do I still sound robotic, or are we good to go, man?
I think it's good now. I think we're
okay.
good.
Cool. Awesome. Yeah. So just a total rundown. I was talking about how the hyper miners came into profit, and that caused more and more people to go in and say, hey, I want to mint some more hyper because we didn't have that much supply coming out after that day 88 time frame. And what that initiated was a bunch of Ethereum going to the buy TitanX, which caused a increase in the overall TitanX ecosystem price floor. So first thing I want to say is, hey, kudos to you, man. I think it was absolutely awesome. And the second thing I want to ask you, did you have this planned out, or was it a little bit of a surprise?
Oh, this was planned out. Yeah, and also,
okay.
Oh yeah, for sure, because day 88 was you had this big supply come out. It's less of a big community than TitanX, so you have less whales protecting the price. Hyper also needed time to prove itself, and then I think the main cool thing about Hyper is the vortex triggering on day 196, which is roughly September 16, which just so happens to be when the last mediocre supply spike is. So Hyper could be a big reason why TitanX also goes into hyperdeflation. And that was always the design intent of Hyper. Because whatever happens at Hyper, whatever action people take, either it's buying Hyper on market, it pushes up the TitanX price because it's only liquidity pair. So people have to buy TitanX first and then Hyper. When they mine, it kind of takes that buy anyway, because the Ethereum goes and buys TitanX, burns 20%, buys Hyper, burns. It's just this cool flywheel on the side of TitanX. One, it gives users a great deal because they can compound. And two, it creates the same effect as it actually creates a better effect because now the TitanX gets locked up in the Hyper, buy and burn smart contracts, and slowly gets injected into the liquidity pool to the buy and burn. And the second part is the Ethereum buys TitanX, burns 20%. So instead of a user holding the supply and then just trading it and dumping it, you now have a smart contract hold the supply, burn 20% of TitanX. So it's this super powerful flywheel on top of TitanX. I like it. It's good.
I love
and then the vortex timing.
Hey man,
yes.
That was clever, man. That was clever. I remember you messaged you about that. And when I put the math together, I was like, bro, that was a pretty good chess move. Loved it. And I think the key to understanding this was the fact that you use Ethereum to start the miners. That's what's actually really creating that flywheel effect on top of TitanX. And in my opinion, I know you can't speculate on price because you are a founder, but I can. And I firmly believe that Hyper will bring TitanX miners to profitability. And when that happens, then we'll get close to the deflationary phase. Now, speaking of the deflationary phase of TitanX, I'm curious to know your thoughts. What are some indicators that TitanX is going deflationary besides the massive price increase? Because that will probably be the clear sign. But is there any other indicators that you're looking at to indicate that TitanX is going massively deflationary?
Yeah, every day on app.titanx.win/stats, the stats page, I look at it every day and I track it in a Google sheet. And for example, before day 280, we had 7 days in a row where we were already deflationary, even with all the supply coming out, which is kind of wild. So the supply does need to stop coming out before it becomes deflationary. Like I think it was in the period. I have my sheet here. What is it? It was just before day 280. We had 6 days in a row where the supply was deflationary, meaning that liquid supply was going down for 6 days straight, which reflected in the price chart. Yeah, obviously I cannot talk about price. I know never financial advice, but there's two options. Either all the protocols work so well that it burns more than whatever the inflation is that is coming out from miners that users started, or no supply comes out, and then all of the burning that happens from all these protocols is just net burning, makes it deflationary, forces it to be deflationary. There's a bunch of routes it can take. The hyper-deflationary will start once all the supply is out, which is roughly at the end of September. Like September, you see a little spike now on Mike Jean's Dune Analytics, but that's absolutely nothing compared to day 280. It's very, very negligible. And if you see how strong TitanX was during day 280, it shouldn't even be on your mind. But yeah, I think after September, we officially enter hyperdeflation. Now we're going to have like small pockets of deflationary, but not hyperdeflationary. But then once all the miners are out, that's when you go hyperdeflationary. So hyperinflationary to hyperdeflationary, and that's roughly around historically where all the altcoin seasons happen.
Right. I love it, man. Great analysis. And this is just my thoughts on what I'm looking at from my perspective is, so we got 9:15, and then I believe the Vortex launch was, you said 9:16 or 9:19. Well, somewhere in that time frame. But it's going to happen shortly after that. So when we have the Vortex release, and then we have day 369, which I believe is going to be right around Halloween or November 1st to the 2nd, somewhere in that time frame.
Calculate it.
I remember I wrote this all down, but long story short, within that, I'll say a 1 week time frame, you got the first catalyst with what we're starting to see with the Vortex. And then when we hit day 369, the two protocols that I'm looking at specifically is going to be Helios and then DragonX, because they have a benevolent TitanX whale staker. It's going to be coming in and it's going to be benefiting the system. And by day 369, you're going to have a majority of the supply out on the market. And then once that hits, that's when I believe we're going to see the fireworks. So in my opinion, somewhere between the Vortex release and day 369, we'll see signs of deflationary. And then when it goes hyper deflationary, it's going to happen so quickly. You're going to barely, it's going to be a massive shocker surprise. So good stuff.
I just did the calculation as well. So day 369 is on 30th of October. So that's roughly when all supply is out. And also now we're operating on the information we have now. We have a bunch of protocols in the work that are coming from our end. That will put a real wrench in it, because X28 is a hardcore burner. So X28, in my head, X28 was always designed, because I had this idea since the start. X28 was always designed to usher in, I call it the renaissance of TitanX, where it enters hyperdeflationary. It's going to force it to go hyperdeflationary, and it's going to give users such a good deal that it's going to be impossible to ignore. Even if they don't want to participate, they're going to be like, ah, shit, it's too good of a deal, I can't pass on. So it's going to force TitanX into hyperdeflation. So now we're operating on all the information we have currently with DragonX, Helios, the staking payouts 369, the Hyper Vortex, etc., and the buy and burns within the TitanX core protocol. And then you have all the other protocols we have in the works, and Titan Farms, which is also going to be, Titan Farms is actually really, really sick. They're also launching at roughly around that point. Things are looking good, man.
Dude, that's awesome, man. I absolutely love it. And I definitely want to ask you a little bit more about X28. But the last thing I want to do before just wrapping up the Hyper stuff, you can build on top of Hyper, and we haven't really seen any projects built on top of Hyper. But in your opinion, what do you think would be a beneficial project for the Hyper project, or that little Hyper sub ecosystem in the TitanX ecosystem?
I spent some time thinking about this. So I think building on TitanX by default supports Hyper. So I think building on TitanX is the better option, because whatever TitanX does, Hyper does by default, because it's its main liquidity pair. So instead of focusing on this one segment, that could be a way to do it, where people need to use liquid TitanX to enter the protocol, and then it routes through Hyper. That way you can achieve both. You build on TitanX, but you push up the Hyper price through people interacting with the protocol. That will probably be the way to do it. But building on TitanX by default supports all build on TitanX projects, because it's its main liquidity pairing. So I'm a bigger fan of building on TitanX. And if you do build something on Hyper, use liquid TitanX as a source and then run it through the TitanX Hyper liquidity pool. So then you push up the Hyper price in the process. You burn liquid TitanX, you push up the Hyper price in the process, and then your main liquidity pool would be Hyper, because it has to route through the two liquidity pools. That's how I would personally build something on top of Hyper. Yeah, but building on TitanX by default is building on Hyper as well.
Yeah, that's a great point. And I had this thought experiment the other week, and the only thing I could really think of that would be the most reasonable is probably some sort of benevolent whale staking protocol like we see with DragonX. That would be a huge benefit to the system. But outside of that, I do agree with you. Building on TitanX can only benefit Hyper and accelerate the price growth, in my opinion. I know you can't say anything about price, but that's just my opinion. Cool. So let's see what else. All right, I need to talk to you about Ethereum gas fees. This was a huge concern, and we talked about this in past live streams. This is a very different market. Base is blowing up. Scroll's doing its thing. We're starting to see Manta Network come out of nowhere. So not only is this a meme coin market, it's also a layer 2 market. So in your opinion, based off of what we saw in the first half of the bull market, how do you think gas fees will play in this bull market, and how do you think gas fees will impact the TitanX protocol?
I don't think it's going to be an issue at all, because especially like a big reason for congestion on the Ethereum network was layer 2s bringing their data back to Ethereum. And since they, I think it was the latest EIP, Ethereum Improvement Proposal, they decreased the cost of blobs and how much compute space they take on the blockchain. Like, for example, Ethereum, even it had a couple spikes during the Ethereum Japanese yen carry unwinding moment that we had. Gas fee spiked then. But other than that, Ethereum is a very, very usable network now. And with the way it's designed with these modular L2s with like base getting a lot of usage now. Like another thing is like there's been this massive battle between Solana and Ethereum. X28 will probably exist on Solana as well, but the supply will come from Ethereum. I think we can do it through layer 0. But I've seen some L2s pop up that will use the Solana virtual machine to build on top of Ethereum. So Solana has kind of a chokehold on the market now when it comes to like the gambling part of the market. But that might come back to Ethereum as well. So Ethereum is kind of doing the modular thing where they use a bunch of L2s to add extra block space, which reduces the block space usage on Ethereum itself. So the gas fees are actually extremely usable now. Like even claiming a mine around 3 Gwei is like $2, $3. Like it's very reasonable for the financial market. Those are kind of the fees you would pay anyway, except for like a B2C kind of app. I don't think it's going to be an issue at all. You might have some spikes, but I think 3 Gwei, maybe 8 Gwei max during the bull run with some spikes. I think Ethereum is kind of entering, not necessarily scaling, because the gas fees need to go down a bunch more for scaling, which might come with sharding. But I think Ethereum is fine now. I don't think we're going to get the Ethereum of the last bull market where it was like 30, 40, 50, 60 Gwei all the time. So I don't think it's an issue.
Yeah, I love it, man. And I just building off of what you're saying, I think these layer 2s, there's different levels. I won't bore you guys with the levels, but there's like level 1, 2, and 3. And the goal is to go from centralized layer 2s to decentralized. And we saw Arbitrum and Optimism move up to the next level, and they're taking steps so that these are truly decentralized layer 2 networks. And in my opinion, with the implementation of these layer 2s, I don't think these $500 gas fees that you saw in the last market is going to be applicable in this market, which is also going to increase the adoption of the Ethereum chain. And in my opinion, I think overall, because the gas fees are going to stay low, it's going to be beneficial for TitanX, and TitanX is going to be at the center focus point of DeFi. And in my opinion, speculation, a potential meme coin run, which I really hope happens on top of TitanX. So it'll be cool. Now, one thing I want to do a quick shout out, Bartown Ray. What's up, brother? Shout out to 2 Chads, Jake and Chris, and all the TitanX Chads in the building. Salute. Hey, salute to you, Bartown Ray. Guys, please go check out Bartertown. Great guy. He's absolutely a DeFi degenerate. He's always hustling, working for his bags, and he's a really great dude and an awesome account you guys should follow on X. And then Plan A. What's up, Plan A? Good to see you, my brother. Good work on the live streams. I want to say you do a lot of great work for the community, bring builders, developers together. Please follow Plan A. Please show up to all the Build on TitanX Sunday spaces, and please continue to support him because he is doing a lot of great community work for everyone else. So good stuff.
Yeah. The Build on TitanX weeklies, I watch all of them. I watch the Mike Dean live stream version of it because I like having YouTube in the background. But it's massive because I can hear what the community is talking about, what they want, what they're focusing on, etc., etc. It's a really fast way of getting community feedback. So I watch all of them, man. I watch all of them. I don't like Twitter Spaces because I hate the UI. I hate being on that. Like if you want to get me talking, get me on a live stream. I love live stream. But Twitter Spaces, I just fucking hate Twitter Spaces. But I listen to all of them for like community feedback. Oh, it's amazing.
Love it, man. Love it. All right. So the last thing I want to talk to you about, and I conservatively have gotten like 50 people, actually maybe closer to 100 people, X28. So I know you gave us tad bits, and I don't want to twist your arm too much, but we got X28 coming down the pipeline. And my first question is, do you have any plans on releasing a white paper soon?
Yeah. So X28. So I don't like giving exact dates because there is something really nice about unpredictability in the market. It keeps the believers in, it gets the non-believers out because they want exact dates and like news events to play. So I'm keeping it unpredictable for a reason. But if you look at the Mike Dean Dune analytics, if you wanted to force something into hyperinflationary mode, you'll probably do it around the point when almost all supply is in existence. So X28 is basically built, first audit is done, there was no issues at all. We're going to do a second audit on it, but the code is practically done for X28. UI is done for X28. Then there's some other things that we're working on. We're working on like 2 to 3 protocols. So X28 is done. Second protocol is close to done. The third protocol is the DragonX one. That one's also close to done. So we have a bunch of like silver bullets in the pipeline, which is good. But X28 is going to force TitanX into hyperdeflationary. So that's going to be after most of the supply is out.
Wow.
And the launch date, we'll announce it a bit beforehand. But people will definitely see some hints on Twitter, etc. They're going to start paying attention. But it's not going to be a super hype launch phase. It's just kind of like it's going to be if you know, you know. And then we're going to get really loud around the start of it just to get the non-believers out. Yeah.
Love it. Love it. And hey, you know, all I gotta say is when it comes to anything TitanX launching, you gotta know your numerology. I won't go into details, but that's one thing you need to know is numerology. So
Yep.
Cool, man. I love it. I really like what you're putting on with X28. And based off the stuff you're saying, I think when it comes to interoperability with this protocol, that's going to be key for the adoption phase, because in the future, I believe layer 0 is going to be like the internet of blockchains. And that's what's really going to bring all these chains together through that communication. And then the next phase is creating a wallet that can interact with all these blockchains so that you don't have to have like 20 wallets on your tabs on your screen. I know all you guys know what I'm talking about. I got like 20 wallets set up and it's an absolute mess. But I'm really, really excited to see how this plays out. And then the other, you actually answered my next question. The protocols you continue to build on top of TitanX. So we got 3 in the pipeline. My next question is, are you going to continue to keep building if you see something interesting going from here on out into the future?
Yeah, I mean, one of the things I hate most about crypto. So I've been in since 2017, and I've seen so many teams. This is one of the biggest problems I wanted to solve with TitanX because I didn't want to be one of them. You have a bunch of teams that launch a bunch of protocols, and none of them are linked together. You have this protocol here, and then this protocol here, and then if users like you and they want to participate in the second protocol, they have to sell down the first protocol, which is fucking retarded. So I was like, okay, let's install this build on TitanX ethos, so that even if we go through a bear market, we can continue to build on a bear market. We can have hype events going into the next bull market and kickstart the TitanX flywheel and the ecosystem again. It never has to die down, because in crypto you have this extreme addiction to being early and being early in new things. So I was like, why does this all have to be like disconnected protocols? Like, for example, on Pump Fund, you launch one meme coin, you launch another, one dies, the other maybe survives. At the end of the day, they both die because now you have community segmentation, none of it helps the other, etc. There's no liquidity bonding, there's nothing going on. So with build on TitanX, we want to continue to build on TitanX, basically, during the bear market, during the next bull market, etc., etc. Because the way you can turn an old thing into a new thing is by building a new thing on the old thing. So you can constantly have this newness factor instead of it having kill this community, create a new community. I hate that shit. I hate it. Because from a personal investment point of view, when I'm in something, I'm in it for like years. And you might sell a little bit and then buy back in a little bit lower, like during the bear market, etc. But usually when I believe in something, I believe in it for a very, very long time, like 10, 15 years, etc. So I wanted to create a crypto where people can keep building on top of it, keep it fresh, keep it new. Every new thing is a new flywheel added to one core thing that pushes up everything. So yeah, I have a bunch of ideas and more formal protocols as well. Like the big DeFi protocols can also be built on top of TitanX. So there's a bunch of things on the pipeline. Right now, we're doing things that are extremely game theory based. And another cool thing about X28, yes, it will burn a ton of TitanX, but the end goal of X28 is to get TitanX on all chains. So people are going to take your TitanX, transform it into X28, and X28 is going to exist on probably 12, 15 chains. And all interactions with X28 impact TitanX directly because it's the only place the supply is going to get created. It's on Ethereum. The only way you can create X28 is through TitanX. So X28 is basically going to be TitanX on all chains. So it's omni-chain, meaning that supply comes from one chain and exists on all chains. So we don't have to create different communities that all kill each other and cannibalize each other. It's all one big community existing on all chains. And then the builders will have the ability to deploy the protocols multi-chain across those chains and then use X28 as the currency for the protocol on each chain. So X28 is designed to take TitanX omni-chain and do it in a way that is extremely, extremely beneficial to the ecosystem. So
Love it,
that's
man.
like the renaissance of build on TitanX then.
Love it, man. Hey, great work, man. I think you got a lot of people bullish, and I appreciate that breakdown with you, man. And yeah, outside of that, that's all I want to ask you about X28. Keep the surprise going, and I think the big thing I love about TitanX is you're continuing to develop, you're getting people excited. And I put out a tweet 2 years from now. I think there's going to be 100 projects built on top of TitanX, excuse me. And I think of those 100 projects, 90% of them are going to be believers and people that were in TitanX day one or towards the beginning. So I'm really excited to see this play out, man. And I really do believe that when we phase into the next bull market, we get a massive inflationary period for the first 8 years, and then coming into the next bull market, having less TitanX out there, it's going to be even more bullish, and arguably that 2028 could be our last big one where we get massive price appreciation. So any thoughts on that?
That sounds about good. Like
Cool.
the distribution phase is done in September. So I would say after day 280, that's when you get the real price of TitanX. So in my opinion, the chart started on day 280 because everybody has a supply, distribution is out, next inflation won't really impact the price because 80% of it's in circulation. There's projects with like 10% supply in circulation and they get supply shocks all the time and they're doing totally fine. So I think after day 280, you get the real fair value of TitanX and the build on TitanX ecosystem. So for me, it started on day 280. It's good. And then even when new miners come in the future, they pay so much more to create TitanX. They get so much less. I think it's almost 10x more expensive now. So even if we get a second big adoption wave when it comes to miners in TitanX, it'll do nothing to the price. Like if net inflation will go down to, if it gets really insane, maybe 15% a year, maybe. So pretty good.
Love it, man. Good stuff. So last thing I want to say, we're getting to an hour. I think this is a great live stream. I think you guys got alpha on top of alpha on top of alpha. And there's a lot of great stuff. But the one thing I want to say about TitanX, and this is not me speaking to Jake directly, this is me speaking to the community. We just went through this entire hour. We talked about what's going on with Hyper. We talked about the TitanX supply distribution. We talked about future developments. We talked about Memecoins. We talked about the future of this project. And there's so many bullish catalysts behind this. And the one thing I want to say is when I go on X, I see a lot of really smart people posting stuff about TitanX, talking about price, talking about really cool concepts. And in my opinion, I think TitanX needs more streamers. I think there needs to be more people start a YouTube channel, talk about TitanX, talk about Hyper, talk about Blaze, talk about altcoins, and continue to put content out there. Because in my opinion, the marketing phase is going to be the face of TitanX, the development, the price stuff. That's the backbone. But the face of the TitanX is the community, and it's the people that talk about it and onboard new people. So I challenge a lot of you guys. If you ever been interested in live streaming and you want to do it, start something up. Hit me up in the DMs. I'll come on your live stream and we can talk about TitanX, or we can talk about protocol, or we can talk about numerology and star patterns, whatever you want. But the main point I'm trying to say is this project, in my opinion, is going to do phenomenally well. The development's awesome. And we're going to see a huge growth in the community. And with the huge growth in the community, we need more voices talking about it. And I really do think that we have some extremely smart people. And I really want to hear you guys express your opinion on live stream. Jake, any thoughts on that?
I agree. Because like once a protocol is deployed, all the work is in the marketing. Like Eric from DragonX talks about this a lot. Like once a protocol is done, it's 100% of your work is marketing. Because I've seen a lot of these like toxic builders, they launch protocol and they never talk about it again. They just expect the code to work. It's like somebody, okay, let me start a business on the internet, let me put up a website, and then I'll disappear, never talk about it, nobody will figure it out, it exists, and then they expect people to come in and all of a sudden buy from their business. Marketing is a lifeblood of everything. And crypto is primarily an attention game. And the thing that's really powerful about the TitanX ecosystem is you have so many flywheels, so much game theory, so many things to talk about. Every day is something different to talk about. So the TitanX ecosystem allows people to always talk about something. You can talk about the supply stats, you can talk about this protocol, you can talk about an auction here, you can talk about the liquidity pools and the ratios, etc., etc. It's an extremely sticky ecosystem that people can learn a ton about. So it's perfect for content creation. It's so good. And if we get more streamers, that's big. The quickest thing you can do is tweet on Twitter. Tweet on Twitter, engage, like, retweet, etc. That is massive amounts because when you think about it, crypto basically exists on Twitter or X nowadays. Crypto exists on X. So even if you just retweet and you reach one person, and that one person just happens to be the owner of a massive network or whatever, and they're like, oh shit, this is interesting, this is way better than whatever the fuck I'm doing over here. And then they talk about it. Like one retweet can have a massive effect on the network adoption of the system. So yeah, tweeting is massive, streaming is massive. Stream with other community creators, like have the person, have Crypto OD King, have Mike Dean, have Eric, etc. All the different builders play Steam. Dudes from Helios, James from Baby Dragon X, maybe the guy from JKX. I've never heard his voice or seen his face, but maybe he wants to come on the stream and just do voice or whatever. There's a bunch of people you can talk to in the ecosystem. Maybe Watertown. Like there's a bunch of people that actually talk about it. I'll try watching all the streams, but I remember after like day 60, I was like, holy shit, my entire day is watching streams. I can't keep up with this anymore. But it's good. It's good.
Good stuff.
But if you don't want to do streams, like, retweet, engage on Twitter, that has a massive network effect in crypto.
Love it. Love it. Hey, great breakdown, man. So yeah, that's all I got for this live stream. Went for about an hour. I think it was a phenomenal one, man. You got any last thoughts or any last comments you want to say?
Never financial advice. We're looking at if this works. Good old move to zero. Never legal advice. All the disclaimers. But other than that, things are working out great. We have a bunch of things we're working on. One of the interesting things I've also noticed is a bunch of the builders that build tend to keep building. Like DragonX is building a bunch of stuff. Blaze is building a bunch of stuff. Helios is building a bunch of stuff. All the builders, also the guy from Titan Legends, I've seen him come back. That was like the first NFT project on TitanX. He's building. So all the builders tend to keep on building more stuff. So it's cool. So, and then as more community, so if 1,000 extra people join the community, statistically, there's 3 or 4 or 5 builders in there. So by them seeing other builders build, they'll end up building things because monkey see, monkey do. Like that's kind of how we humans work. But they see more proof of other people doing it and they're making money. Because in TitanX, we're a big believer in capitalism and meritocracy. I mean that if you deliver value to the ecosystem, you deserve to make money. I don't believe in this whole like fair thing and all the people that put in years of effort and building the skill and deving something and doing all the marketing. I believe in people getting paid. So when you develop something, have a genesis, do like 3, 5, 8% or whatever. 8% is on the high end. Like for example, all the stuff I do is 3%, and all of it supports the ecosystem. So I believe in developers making money. I believe in the people getting rewarded for providing great value to the ecosystem. And then once they see more builders building, more builders tend to build, and the builders keep on building. So yeah, 100 projects doesn't sound too crazy.
Yeah, absolutely. I can't wait for the next bull market when we got way more than 100 and there's so much going on, and we'll probably have like a crazy website with an interactive map that you click on stuff, man. Like, you know, the sky's the limit with this stuff. And I do agree with you, man. You know, I'm excited to see what happens. Network adoption is great. And like I said, man, keep up the good work. Guys, do me a favor, please go over, support Jake. If you want to get more information about TitanX, check out TitanX at titanx.win. And also, please, all the builders, all the developers from Blaze to Helios to Baby Dragoness to DragonX and the protocols I don't mention by name, please go support them. Check out your protocols. Yeah, I feel bad when I don't mention one because I don't want to upset anybody. Yeah. So, you know, please go and support them and continue to keep it rocking. And Jake, like I said, man, got to have you on in the future. And thanks for coming on, dude. So good stuff. Peace out, y'all.